Okay, I think we're back. Sorry about that, the phone rang. That always happens. Okay, now getting back to what we're saying here about the nature of imagination. I gave again examples, very popular ones like we have today. I give examples that I use myself. Things like the movies The Matrix, Star Wars, Star Trek, one of my favorite, Dune, and the like. Okay, fine. All of these wonderful imaginative worlds, they're not real, are they? Of course not. We're not real Jedis now, are we? The Matrix is not real. We're not really, plugged into a machine. There is no real Agent Smith. There is no real Neo. We all know that, don't we? Yes, I certainly hope so. But at the same time, what motivates those imaginative pulses within the individual? I just gave you with examples of literature and art. How about in science? What motivates the scientist? People like Nikola Tesla or Albert Einstein. How about the musician? You can look back to the likes of Beethoven and Bach. But let's look into modern times. In my opinion, one of the most brilliant musicians, composers of today. A man like John Williams. Do you know who John Williams is? Do you know what he's produced? Star Wars, dun 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 dun, right? Indiana Jones, all these wonderful tunes that are so inspirational to millions of people. Somehow, somewhere, something, they tapped into something somewhere through the power of the imagination. Understand now that the imagination is not just organic chemistry in the brain. It is the ways and means of how the unconscious mind expresses itself, tries to bubble up through the subconscious into the conscious. And it is real. It is not just subjective. It is not just symbolic. It is something much deeper and real. So when the Baal Shem Tov was having his dream of ascending into the palaces and seeing Mashiach, that was a nice, beautiful vision in the imaginative faculty of his mind. But it was real. When the people who are writing movies like The Matrix, books like Dune, creating universes like Star Wars or Star Trek. Let's use Star Wars for example. When George Lucas was creating Star Wars, I don't think he was channeling the ancient Jedi spirit from another galaxy saying, let us teach you about ancient history. No. But he was clearly tapping into what Carl Jung calls archetypes. Underlying truths which are objective in nature and as such are those things which we need to tap into. You see, when you are having an experience like the Baal Shem Tov, he ascends and sees Mashiach. How come he didn't see Eliyahu Navi? How come he didn't see Michael, Gabriel, one of the other angels? Go back into the Hechalot literature, 2,000 years before him. These guys, they're going up and they're saying this angel and this palace and that palace. Nope, not today. We have a number of people who have ascents, and they're seeing within a context, because context is king, as they say. A point made very well in psychology. We talk about Ma'aseh Merkavan, Ezekiel's chariot vision. Many people today, believe it or not, many experience a vision of the Merkava. And no, it's not a spaceship. In all due respect to my dear colleague Eric von Daniken, it is a psychic experience. But the nature of that psychic experience is subjective to the individual, to the time, and to the place. And as such, it is going to be different today in its experience than it was 2,500 years ago. So you see, when the imaginative faculty that we need to tap into today and anchor it in the rational mind, merging the two together, Kabbalah speak, Chokhmah and Bina, what we call Sefer Yetzirah speak, oscillating consciousness. There's a whole technique to it. We'll cover it in the meditation course. I've taught it in the Sefer Yetzirah course 20 years ago. We'll cover it again here. Again, this is not necessarily usage of names or things like that, because, in all due respect, like I said many a time, many of my students are not Jewish. Many of my students do resonate with a Jewish Kabbalistic structure of things, and many don't. Does that make them bad and wrong or less? Of course not. Just makes them different. Is different bad? I certainly hope not. I walk down the street every day and I see people wearing different clothing. What makes one better than the other? Nothing. Different strokes, different folks. We are all part of the same ultimate unity. And there's no way that we're ever going to get away from that. So however divergent we are today, I don't care what your politics are. I don't care if you're a conservative or a liberal. I don't care what your economics are today, whether you're a capitalist, socialist, or communist. I don't care what your religions are today. Jewish, Christian, Muslim, what difference? Hindu, Buddha, whatever. We are all part of the same whole. And that's what you need to understand. And ultimately you will experience. This is meditation. If your mind is not calm, you will never get through the storm. If you don't have tenacity and determination, you will never get through the cloud. If you allow yourselves to be distracted, you will never pass through the fire. Make sense? I certainly hope so. What I just described is Kabbalistic meditation. It's the same thing in Buddhist meditation, Tibetan meditation, Hindu meditation, shamanistic meditation, and all the rest. Thought just popped into my head. Not related to what I just said. Why would I mention it then? Because the thought just popped into my head. Remember I told you we're going fluid like water rather than rigid in a way? So I'm actually explaining to you my train of thought as it goes. And the thought that just popped into my head, talking about the ways and means of meditation, was the use of drugs. Now, let's not mention things like LSD. We all know LSD, that type of drug, is a very, very dangerous chemical that can affect negatively and harmfully the brain chemistry. Do people under such influences have experiences? Personally, I don't know. I've never done drugs in that respect, but from what I understand, yes, they do. Remember we talked about that subconscious layer which blocks between the conscious and the unconscious mind? Well, if you jumpstart a connection and you're forced to pound into that subconscious, you see all kinds of crazy, weird stuff. And that's what a bad type of vision, or a bad trip, I think they call it, is all about. And that's why we don't do drugs. I have heard that pot and hashish can have hallucinogenic effects. And therefore, my rabbis discouraged their usage. Now, if, let's just, for the side there, speak about, using pot for medicinal purposes. I have heard that it has tremendous medicinal values. I most certainly am not a medical doctor. I cannot make such as, an assertion. Check your doctor. If your doctor says that this is good for you, you need it for whatever, you don't have to smoke it to the point of abuse, to the point of getting yourself hallucinogenic, but you can use it within the context that your medical professional will advise you. But now, let's shift to something a little bit more down to earth. I've known many of my students who have wanted to dabble with things like ayahuasca. Does ayahuasca work as a chemical to open up the mind, to make you more aware of the realities around you? Duh. Yeah, of course it does. But at the same time, are you ready and prepared to experience that? Or is your own subconscious going to again act like veils over your eyes to skewer what you see so as to blind you from clear sight? That's the case of 99% of everybody today. Why do you think you'd be any different? All meditative systems in the orthodox traditions of their own context, Buddhist traditions, Tibetan traditions, Hindu traditions, certainly Kabbalistic traditions and the like. I'm certain the Sufi traditions and whatever, Catholic traditions also. Okay? All train you over long traditions and years of practice to clean out the subconscious. We call it the klipot. Others will call it the maya, the illusion, or all these other things. Yeah, somebody's saying here drug use can make illusions stronger. That is true. Thou shalt not. Bad news. Okay? Saying here shamans are very well trained. Yeah, that's true. Shamans, most shamans, not all, are well trained because that's the context of their culture and tradition. But we're not of that culture and tradition. So you and I can't just hop on a flight down to Brazil and go off into the Amazon and meet the real shaman who is then going to prepare for us ayahuasca, little l'chaim there, and you're going to go off and see something like he does. You're going to have something really weird and wild happen, depending on who you are. Now remember, the intellectual rational mind is your anchor. It's your grounding. It is from here that we go off into the imaginative faculty and then merge to bring the two together so that when we have discretion and care and understanding, then we have the ability to be grounded and, most important, calm. I will tell you one thing that I consider to be the most important prerequisite ingredient for a successful meditative experience: emotional stability. In our Torah tradition, we call this hishtavut, balance. The rabbis would say, you don't take note of the good feelings of someone who compliments you. You don't take note of the bad feelings of someone who insults you. Everything is balanced and harmony in your experience, your heart, or he says your mind, if you will. That's the reality of things. So if you have any emotional upsets, if you're like a real passionate, wild person, you're going to have a rough time with emotions. You're going to have a rough time in meditation. Now, you could say, well, I'm going to try to calm myself. And you probably can succeed in calming yourself. But if you have a storm raging around you, what happens when the big tidal waves come a-crashing? Can you maintain your stability? Can you maintain your calm? If you can, then you're ready to move forward. If not, well, that is where you focus. So when we do meditative practices, there are specific ways, but emotional calming is a psychological process, which, just bottom line, you're gonna just have to deal with. You're gonna have to learn how to do. How do you calm yourself emotionally? Is that something, can I go to the local pharmacy and take a pill for that? No, really can't. Is it something that I can turn on and off at will? Probably not. It takes time. It takes time that you address your own inner subconscious crap. You deal with the stuff that's inside you, and eventually and ultimately make peace with yourself. And only then can you be balanced. Quiet. Sometimes I'm so soft that you can't even hear me on the video here. But anyway, that's the way it's meant to be. Quiet and calm. And that's the way it needs to be. So ultimately, when we practice meditations, again, somebody's saying here, long text, if reverence applied during these rituals, can that provide protection? This is a good question, actually. Reverence during rituals, can that provide protection when one is introduced to the upper realms by means of attaining moral transparency? Is this compatible to the Pardes experiment? Okay, let me respond. Chris has actually a good question. If you're being strict in proper reverence of rituals, well, this is why we have rituals. I don't know, many of you know Jonathan Young from Ancient Aliens program is the head of the Campbell Institute out west. Great, analyst from our Jungian school. Has helped people, around the world. He will tell you that whenever you have rituals, the whole purpose of being holy is to, as we say in Judaism, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, to create a separation between the sacred and the profane. We are essentially creating a sacred space of mind through the external performance of ritual, which is what Torah and mitzvot are all about, so as to create a place in mind to elevate ourselves. Yes, rituals are very important. The proper performance of rituals are very important. They have a tremendous therapeutic, psychological effect. But remember something about the rituals in our Jewish context, mitzvot. They are a means to an end. Again, we are in the middle of the Sukkot holiday right now. Our traditions, of course, say for 7 days you go out and live in the sukkah. And then you wave the lulav and the etrog and all the rest of this stuff. Well, if you're sitting there just shaking it around, shake and bake kind of stuff, going out into the sukkah because every night's just a party, well, you're kind of missing the point of the sacredity of the moment. So yeah, rituals are meant to be sacred. We could use the word kadosh in Hebrew, but you gotta understand what it means to show dignity and respect. And when we disrespect ritual, when we don't place them in the proper pedestal, then we have lowered them, we have cheapened them, we have robbed them of their psychic powers and made them empty and weak, valueless. And that's, of course, religious hypocrisy. So, in the Kabbalistic traditions that developed, Provence and Spain and all the rest of that stuff, they Kabbalaized everything in Judaism and imbued and injected everything with rich and deep spiritual meanings, enlivening the entire system. And for those who practice a Kabbalistic form of Judaism today, it's a much richer and deeper experience of what Torah mitzvot have to offer. Whereas those who accept only the rationalist school, again, if in their rationalist philosophical mind they find fulfillment, then that's good too, and can be equal in value, as is the mystical. Well, how can that be? Didn't I say different strokes for different folks? Different personality types see things and view things and experience things in different ways. So the philosophical fulfillment of the rationalist and the mystical fulfillment of the Kabbalist are of equal value for each individual. And to try to take the rationalist, make him a Kabbalist, or a Kabbalist to make him a rationalist, it's not going to work. Any more than trying to take your foot and fit it into a shoe size that doesn't fit. Okay? This is our introduction. I see I'm running a little short on time here. These are the things that we need to know. And like I said, I'm not structuring this course. There's not going to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's just going to be ongoing. We're going to be talking about different things. We're going to review everything we've done for 20, 25 years. And we're going to go deep and deeper and deeper yet. And we're going to learn to deal with real things with the intent and the hope that we will be able to experience what we call true Aliyah. True Aliyah is, again, not just a philosophical or a concept of the mind. Real mind expansion meditation is going to put you in touch with that greater unity in which we live. You're going to become aware of the presence of all those other entities that are out there, the good guys and the bad guys. And as you mature, you'll be able to discern between who's who and what's what. And as you mature, you'll be able to travel. Travel without movement in both space and time. And I know some of you who are here listening, watching me now, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I know you, and I know you've had these experiences. And for those of you who I don't know yet, and who are having these experiences, you'll see. Mark my words, we together will see. All right, so on that note now, let's finish up for now. Questions, anybody's got any questions in the last couple of minutes that we have left, let's take them. And then Be'ezrat Hashem, God be willing, we'll continue. Again, this course is going to be for my KosherTorah School student body. You are not a member of our student body. You want to become one. Go to our Patreon page for a $50 monthly support, or call me up and I'll put you on our student list. If you want to take this, and that will give you access to all the courses, gives you access to discounts, gives you access to me. I don't take personal calls and spend time with people not members of our student body simply because I just don't have the time. Literally, my phone can ring all day long. So I'm sorry, everybody. I can only deal with those people, who are here for me. I'm there for them. If you want to take the course at the $30 a month level, again, email me at ariel.tzadok@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to sign you up. All right, that's where we're at. That's what we need to know. We have a long, long road ahead of us. Step one for you right now. Start getting your act together. Look inside yourself and ask a very simple question. You can address it to God, you could address it to the universe, you could address it to yourself. What do I need to do to make myself a better human being? What do I need to do within myself to improve? What do I need to improve? Whatever your force, whatever your power to be, address it to within, and allow truth to arise from within you. Somehow, some way, you'll get the answer to that question. But only if you ask it with honesty and sincerity, and you're willing to know the answer. That's your homework. So for those of you who are going to be continuing with this course, cool and groovy, we'll pick up on that note. God be willing. Remember, we float like water, so wherever we go. And future introductory lessons. The new courses, the Mysteries of Genesis is going to come up. I'm going to try to do that Motzei Shabbat. And then we'll give some intro courses and the other stuff as well. Okay. So I got a question here. The Sefer Yetzirah, according to the Gates, is this what they were trying to hint at in the movie The Matrix? That I don't know. The Wachowski brothers, sisters, I don't know what and where they are today. They're the ones who wrote the film, so I don't know what they did and did not know about the Sefer Yetzirah. But the gates themselves is a very interesting technique. I covered it in the old class. It's an Abulafian technique as well. Cool and groovy stuff. And, yeah, we'll cover it. Any meditations for the holiday? Absolutely, the meditations for the holiday. And I covered that in other places. Not for now. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to run. We'll call it a night. And God be willing, we'll see you all next time. Thanks all for joining me. Mo'adim l'simcha. Hagim uzmanim l'sason. We'll be in touch. Take care. Shalom.